All right, this is our second video on the quadratic equation, and we're going to find something kind of different on this example. Let's go ahead and tackle it. So first of all, we've got our A, our B, which is a whole -4, and our C. So I'm going to plug in. I'm just going to go right into the skeleton. So negative B would be a -4. And then I've got my B squared, which is a -4. My A is going to be a 10, my C is a 4, and my A is a 10. Let's just check that. My B should be -4s. Yep. My A's should be, here are my A's right here and here. My A should be a 10. Yep. And that C should be a 4. All right, so I'm in good shape. Remember, I like to do this first and then do underneath the square root. Do not do the square root. Don't do it. And then that. So this is going to give me x equals a +4 plus or minus something over 20. So let me do this right here. So that's a -4 squared minus 4 times 10 times 4. So make sure you're getting the same thing as me in your calculator. Please make sure you have your parentheses. If not, you're going to get a mistake. All right, I get -144. At this point, you go, oh no, we've got a negative under the square root. Well, just as a reminder, square root of -144 is the same thing as square root of 144 times -1, or the square root of -1. Well, what is the square root of 144? That's 12. And what is the square root of -1? That's I. So our answer is actually going to be x equals 4 plus or minus 12i divided by 20. Well, we can absolutely leave this like that. However, we can also simplify. Notice that everything here is divisible by 4. So I can divide this by 4, this by 4, and this by 4. So that gives me an answer of x equals 1 plus or minus 3i divided by 5. And that's a perfectly correct answer, what I've written right here. But if you want, you can also write this as x equals 1 plus 3i over 5. Or you could write it as x equals 1 minus 3i over 5. So if you are going to write it this way, you have to include both answers. If you're going to write it this way, you can just keep it like that because the plus or minus implies both answers. So we would say in this problem that there is no real solution, but there are two imaginary solutions right here. Let's try another one. Here my A is 1, my B is -1, and my C is 4. So we'll have -1, B squared. My A is going to be 1, my C is 4, and then I've got a 1. Let's just make sure that this is correct. Are all my B's correct? All my B's should be a -1. Good. Are my A's correct? Well, my A should be just a 1, so that looks good. Is my C correct? It should just be a 4, so that looks good. Okay, we're going to do our 3 values. We're going to do this one. This one, we're not going to do the square root. We're just going to do that after. So this gives me x equals a 1 plus or minus the square root of something all over 2. Well, what is, let's go ahead and make sure you can do -1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. 1 second, please. I get -15. Just make sure that's right. Yep, that does look right to me. So now we have to think about, well, we've got a negative, so we're going to have to write this as some sort of I thing. Well, square root of -15, that's going to be equal to the square root of 15 times the square root of -1. So that's going to be square root of 15 times I, which of course we write as I root 15. So we could write our final answer, if you'd like, as 1 plus or minus I root 15 all over 2, and we're done. Or you can break this up into two different answers. So one answer would be x equals 1 plus I root 15 all over 2, and then x equals 1 minus I root 15 all over 2. So if you're going to answer like this, make sure you include both. If you're going to answer like this, you can just leave that as is because it implies two answers with the plus or minus. Thanks for watching how to do this. I know it's a little scary with the negatives, but we certainly know how to handle that. Thanks for watching.